Welcome to the show, Valerie.
Hi. Thank you so
So,
much for having me.
so excited to chat with you today. Let's get started with the question that I think is the easiest, but usually is the hardest to answer, which is how did you get started in your writing career?
So, I have been writing since I was in elementary school. I have a very specific memory of writing a short story that involved like a little Debbie pecan pie. I don't remember anything else about it, but I know that a little Debbie pecan pie was in there, which makes me giggle. So, I have literally been writing almost since I can remember. And then I went to college as an English major and took a creative writing class because I thought, why not? And without me knowing, the professor actually submitted a short story of mine to the college's, um, like, you know, like their journal, their literary journal, and they picked it up. And this was quite literally when email was still very new, which kind of tells you how old I am.
I
And so
remember
I
those
didn't even
days.
yeah, so it's not like I was checking email. I didn't know how to check my campus email. And so the next thing I know, I get it in the mail and I was like, oh, look at that. So maybe I can do this whole writing thing. So that's how it all started.
So, what made you want to then become an author and write romance books?
So I didn't start out wanting to write romance books. My goal actually was to be an editor in like a big publishing house. But when I graduated college, I was I grew up in Memphis and also in Knoxville, Tennessee. So not a small town girl, but still the thought of moving to Manhattan sort of scared me. So I thought San Francisco sounds good. And I went there instead and got a job at a really tiny, or got an internship at a tiny publisher, did not land a job at a publishing house, and eventually just was like, well, I guess I'm not going to be an editor after all. And so I just started writing fiction. And over time, I wrote women's fiction, historical fiction, middle grade fiction, which is fiction for 8 to 12-year-olds. And then I got a Rebecca Yarros book in like a book box, and it wasn't, one of her fantasies, it was one of her contemporaries. And I thought, this is what romance can be. And
Mhm.
I just started inhaling them, like inhaling them. And I looked at my husband and I said, I think I can write this. And he goes, babe, I told you to write romance 10 years ago. Um, and I just looked at him. I was like, you did not. He said, oh, I definitely did. He swears he did. I'm not sure. But the second I turned to writing romance, I mean, it just everything clicked, and I thought that no, this is the way to go.
What has surprised you the most about being an author?
Um, Probably getting to connect with readers and getting that feedback because sometimes I get really like my debut it was about a widow and sort of her she lost her love early and or lost her husband early and found a second chance. It's called The Widow's Guide to Second Chances, and I got messages from readers saying this has healed something in me. Thank you so much because I too lost my husband young, um and then on the other hand, I get messages from readers going, this was the best, spiciest, most fun book I have ever read. I loved it so much. Thank you for, this was just a wonderful escape. And so the connection with readers has definitely been the coolest part and the part that I was not expecting at all.
So, what do you like writing most about for romance?
Um, I like the banter. That's
Hmm.
always my favorite. I feel like I can really get into that, and it's just so easy. Like that, it is by far the easiest part of writing romance is I can just sit back and I mean, I'm basically eating popcorn, watching them go back and forth just as much as everybody else is.
So, I know you're an indie author. What do you
hmm
enjoy most about that experience?
I like the control. I like that I am a one woman show. So I wrote a series of small town rom com, and then I thought, ooh, let me try like a little witchy romance, and it like my readers were like, no. Um, no. And like that poor, it's like a novella and a novel, and that poor series gets no love. And so I joked that I just had a meeting with my marketing department, which is me, and we decided to go back to small town rom-com because clearly that's where my readers wanted to be. So I love that I can make my own decisions. I'm in charge of the covers, I'm in charge of the marketing, I'm in charge of literally every single thing that happens.
So, what's the most difficult aspect then?
That I'm in charge of literally every single thing that happens. Like without question, it is like I have a full-time day job, and being an indie author with this big of a backlist at this point too, especially with pushing this new book that I'm like, this is gonna, guys, this is the book, man. It has been so time consuming. It is almost an entire full-time job on top of the other full-time job. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize how much work it is and
Yeah.
how it requires like different parts of your brain because as an author, you're creative, right? But then you also
Yes.
like you have to kind of run a company. I don't think people get that. Like
Yeah.
it's it's a business. There's lots of things to
It
do.
is. Yes. I mean,
Like
last night I was applying for a copyright,
yep.
for this book. And then I had to also register it with an anti-piracy subscription that I do. And then but before that I had to apply for, I had to buy the ISBN. I had to get it formatted. I had to upload it to all these websites. I had to find a cover artist and book that cover artist 6 months in advance. And then, you
Yes.
know, yeah, find the editor. I mean, it's just the marketing. I have a PA for marketing and then scheduling all the posts. And then when Instagram's like, I don't feel like behaving, you're like, great.
Right.
And then I love this. And then you're going, okay, is TikTok staying around? Is TikTok not staying around? I think it's staying around. Okay, let's go back to TikTok.
Oh, trust me, I understand. And I think what's interesting
Yeah.
is people don't realize, like, I have a background of 20 years in marketing, and every day things change. Like, what worked
Yep.
yesterday doesn't work tomorrow for no
Yeah.
reason, zero
None,
reason.
none,
And that's
none,
like, oh,
none.
by the way, can you also write that next book that your readers are begging for in the series? And can you also like figure out Facebook ads? And like,
Right.
Amazon doesn't like your file now. Why? No
Right.
reason. No
No, it
reason.
just, and then readers will find something that they think is a typo. It's not a typo. They report that to Amazon, and then you're scrambling. You're like, no, 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 that was real. That was on
And
purpose, I
And I did
swear.
that I did that because I wanted to.
Right, right.
Yes.
Yes, it is a lot, but I love it. But even as I was getting ready to launch this book, I promised myself that I'd realized that I have quite literally published this will be my 14th published story in under 3 years. And I
That's
thought, that's
insane.
stupid. That's insane. That's the dumbest thing. Like, what have I done to myself? Why did I do this to myself? No one's making me go this fast. So I was like, we're going to slow down. We're just going to relax a little bit and really enjoy this ride. So usually with 2 weeks ahead of an advance, by now I'd probably have, you know, 10 to 15 to 20,000 words written of the next book. I have not written word one yet. I'm
Okay. You're taking a
just letting
pause.
it, I'm taking a pause. I know what I'm going to do, but I'm just taking a pause. I'm writing a bonus scene that readers can grab when they get to the end of this book, and just trying to fill up the well and not stress myself out so much.
And not burn out. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you're
Yes.
a one woman person. It's a
Yeah.
lot more difficult than people think. And you need to be able
Yes.
to like be refreshed to be creative in the best ways.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, how would you describe Worth the Try in 10 words or less?
Okay, this I really had to think about it. But I've got the answer, which
Okay.
is sexy rugby daddy with thigh tattoo falls for curvy nanny.
Ooh, I like that. That is very true.
Right.
That is very, very
Right.
true.
Yes.
Okay. And
That's all I got.
And you get a very visual picture with that short little description,
Thank goodness. See, look at that.
right?
All those years of
See?
writing blurbs are finally coming home.
Coming. Okay, so let's start with where did the idea come from for this book specifically?
So, my husband played rugby in
Okay.
college, and I have like the minute he introduced me to it, I thought it was the coolest game. I really enjoyed the respect that like I just enjoyed the way the actual game was played. I There's a real sense of camaraderie. Like you have to work as a team.
Hmm.
When the team gets out on the pitch, it's just them. The coach has nothing to do with it, and they have to respect the refs. They can't really get into brawls or they get into a lot of trouble. I mean, so there's just a lot of rules, and yet like it's just insane to
Yeah.
watch, right? I mean, it's just fascinating and it's fast and it's just incredible. And then they're really hot. Like they're not hard to look at. And hilariously, the first time we took our daughter to a game or we were watching a game, she was probably about 7 or 8. She she's looking at the screen and she goes, "Why are their legs so beefy?" And I thought, it, because they're beefy. Like that's just wonderful, honey. But I wanted to write a sports romance, and I
Yeah.
just could not bring myself to write hockey. My family is obsessed with Formula One, and I wanted to write a Formula One, but I just like it just wasn't there. The passion
Yeah.
wasn't there, and so I thought, I think rugby is like I'm going to try rugby because I always like to like I enjoy writing to market, but I can't quite make myself go fully in. Like I will
Yeah.
give the market 90% of me, but I will not give it 100% of me. I'm like, no, this is my book. I say what's going on. So I thought, let me do rugby because I don't see a lot of it out there. And sure enough, it's
Yeah.
one of those beautiful things. Like the minute you decide this is what I'm doing and you start putting it out there, it starts coming right back to you. And
Yep.
you're like, there it is. There it is. I see it. As for this particular, like the storyline, the plot line of single dad and nanny, I haven't written one and I wanted to write a single dad nanny. And I thought, what better place to do that than to do it with a rugby romance? I figured I could give the girlies everything that they could possibly want. You've got a rugby guy with huge thick thighs with a slutty little thigh tattoo, and then you've got the slutty little glasses and the beard, and he's a mushy, gooey dad for his
Daddy. Yeah.
daughter. And and then he's just filthy in the bedroom. I'm like,
Yeah.
what's not to love?
Exactly. Well, and then I think it helps too because like your husband played rugby. Like you don't have to go like he's like built-in research.
Yes, yes. And he does that. Like he refuses to read my books. I mean, he couldn't possibly. He he's like, absolutely not. He never ever wants to read my books, which makes me laugh. But he's a huge supporter, and he's more than happy to give me all the information that I could possibly want. And we're actually going to there's a something called the Six Nations Rugby Championship. It happens every year. It's over in Europe, and we're actually going there in March to watch. We're going to Dublin to watch Ireland versus Scotland, and
Oh,
he
that'll be
was like,
fun.
"We're doing that. Yeah, it's for my birthday. It's a big birthday." So I was like, "Yay!" I'm looking forward to that.
That'll be great. So,
Hmm.
how long did it take you to write this book? I know it has to be short because you wrote 14 in 3 years.
Yeah. So this took me a long time for me. I had gotten used to writing to where I could literally draft 50,000 words in about a month, which is insane. But I had a whole process and a method to get me ready to go for that. For this one, because I was writing outside of a genre that I was used to, and I was setting up a whole series, I had to really slow it down. And plus, I had told myself, we're gonna slow down. This is There is no rush. I am in a race against myself and myself only. So it took me about 4 months total
Okay.
to get
That's
to
still really
for
fast.
Yes, that is still really fast. And what's funny is to me, it feels like a snail's pace. So I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take my 4 month of snail's pace and still be still be really happy with it.
Well, because I just think if you do the math, if you did a book every 4 months, that's still three a year. That's still a lot.
Yeah, it's
So,
yes. Yes. And if we happen to get four out, I mean 3 out in a year, definitely not four, then great. But I'm not pushing to make that
yeah.
happen at all. I went ahead and set up book two as a pre-order and I set it to come out in April because Amazon can't get mad at me if I if I bring it forward. They get very mad at me if I push it back. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, what was the easiest part of this book to write?
Um, the easiest part. It was honestly probably the parts with the little girl. She was
It's
so
just
cute.
so adorable. Like, just absolutely precious.
Yes. And I mean, my daughter is now 21, and my son is almost 14. So I don't have like an immediate reference anymore, but I mean, I was literally pulling up videos of my daughter as a little girl and going, okay, would she have done that? And that sort of thing. But it was, it was sweet and she was fun and yeah. So that was easily the easiest part.
What was the hardest part?
The sex scenes. They're always the
Really?
hardest part. Yes, yes.
Okay.
They are always the hardest and they always take me the longest because to me, a really good sex scene has a lot going on in it. It's
Yeah.
never just about the sex. There's so much emotion going on from both of them. And so the person whose point of view you're in, you've got to really put their emotion like right there on the page. But you also have to make them sense the other person's emotion. And so, and then how many times can you say cock, pussy,
Right?
dick,
A lot.
thrust, push, moan, groan, eyes, gaze, glide, stride, and you're just going, okay, I've got to say this differently. How can I say this differently? And so you're just twisting your brain. And I know some people can write a sex scene so fast, and I am just in awe of those people because it will take me a regular scene. It could take me, let's say, 3 days to write. That's probably it. I don't even know if that's a good estimation or not, but a sex scene will take me double that just because of how much is going on. And plus, like, I've got to be in a really good headspace. And I was joking to someone the other day. I said, they don't realize that half the time these authors, like the sex scenes are being written like I've just woken up in the morning and it is like 5 a.m. I'm sitting here bleary eyed, drinking coffee and being like, his hips thrust into me.
Yep.
Um, but that's exactly how half the time it's happening. The other times I'm sitting, in a coffee shop and I'm jamming to some really good like Hosier and I'm like, this is hitting, like we're in it, this is go. But you never know.
You never know. Well, and I think it's
Yeah.
funny because like sometimes I know like readers will be like, why did the author use this word in a sex scene? I'm like, because when you use the word cock too much, you get mad.
Right.
Like, right? And
Right.
there are only so many other words. So sometimes we have to use really weird things like heat and core.
Yes. And
Like,
all the core. So much
right?
core.
And people be like, I don't like that. And I'm like, what else do you want them to say? Like authors to say? There's only so many words.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, I mean and there's like folds. I'll never use folds. I
Right.
can't do that one, but I've read it like where I was like, huh, they used it and it didn't make me cringe. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's so hard.
It's so hard. So, okay.
Yeah.
So, one of the most relatable parts of your main character is how her personality and self worth have been heavily influenced by so many people in her life, especially her mom. And
Yep.
we really start to see her do things for herself and stop worrying about what others think of her. I think that's such a prominent theme if you were raised in the 80s and 90s at all.
Like
Yeah.
me.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
So, what was your motivation behind making this such a like critical part of her character development?
So I didn't even mean for it to be like the crux of her character development. Like that's not even how it started. But my editor like saw a little bit of it. Like she could see little pieces. And as she was going back through it, she called me and she was like, Valerie, it's all right there. Just go dig. And I said, you're right. Yes, ma'am. so so as I went back in, I just started weaving it in. It I was raised by like a totally evil, wicked stepmother. Like she was the worst. And so I was told like at home it was like you're ugly, you can't do anything right, you're so stupid, blah blah blah. Like it was the pits. And I'm fine for the most part, but I'm fine because then I go and I put it in all these other books. It's like it's very clear. Anybody who knows me can like read my books and be like, "Oh, there she is writing through her trauma yet again." Um, but I really think people spend too much of their energy worrying about what other people
Mhm.
think and worrying about trying to make other people proud of them. And I get it, like I get it so hard. But and I think a lot of this, with age comes a little bit of distance,
Mhm.
and you're able to, and you stop giving a fuck, and it's
Yep.
beautiful. Like you're like, nope, don't care.
Don't care.
Um, don't care and and so I thought, okay, let's try and infuse this into a 30-year-old, and let's see if we can have a 30-year-old actually come to this realization instead of her being 40 and coming to
Yep.
this realization. And so I thought, if I can give her this, then maybe other readers can see it too and think, oh, if she can sort of learn to separate herself from her mother and learn that she's got worth all on her own, then maybe a reader can see that for inside themselves as well.
I love that because there is something magical that happens when you hit 40 because you do stop
Yes.
giving a fuck. And like
Yep.
I feel like one of the things I'm trying to like, pass out into the world is like don't wait till you're 40. Do it when you're 20. Do not care. No one thinks about you as
Please.
much as you think they do. They just don't.
Yep. They
They
really
just
don't.
don't.
They
And
just
in
don't.
reality, like in today's world, everyone has an opinion about something. Care what like you think about yourself and what those like
Yep.
really close to you who really know you think, and then fuck everyone
Yep.
else. That's kind of my
Exactly.
2 cents. So I like related a lot to
Yes.
it because, you know, growing up, a lot of people in the 80s and 90s were raised that you have to care a lot about what everyone else thinks, right? Like you have to
Yep.
be this nice girl. You have to do, what if someone sees you do this? And I'm like, yes, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, did they not like it? That's a them problem. That is not
Exactly.
a
That's
me
not a
problem.
me. Exactly. That's
That's
not a
that's
me problem. That's a
yes,
you
it's not a
problem.
reflection on me, it's a reflection on them. And
It,
it's yeah, it took so long to get there. Yeah.
I tell my kids that all the time. I have two
Mm-hmm.
19-year-olds and then some younger kids too. But I tell my oldest, I'm like, be who you want to be. That's the only thing that matters, right?
Yep.
Like
Same.
people,
Yep.
if you're your authentic self, the right people will find you and love you. So, all right. So, one of the other subjects in the book was Ansel as a single father who has to deal with Rosalie, who is super cute, and her bitchy birth mother who's not been
Yep.
around and then like shows up back in the picture for the absolute wrong reasons.
Yep.
So, why was that part of the story so important and telling it in that manner?
Well, I needed a foil. So I and and as we've already learned, I had a terrible stepmother. So I thought, let me like sort of pluck some of her worst qualities and pop them into this and just sort of, skewer her as publicly as possible. Um So, I mean, a lot of it is, that there's a saying like, don't make the writer angry. She'll put you in a book and kill her. Well, or kill you. This is basically what I have done. It's like, well, hey, stepmom, fuck you. Here we go.
Yep.
But I've like, I needed a foil,
Yeah.
because I didn't want the main characters to really break up for any like hardcore reason. And
Yeah.
I had enough emotional turmoil going on through here that I thought I've got to like I can't I need some sort of external device. So a lot of it was honestly just plot driven. But the other part, like the more I got into it, the more I thought, like sports, like pro athletes are dealing with like icky people all the time.
Yep.
This could absolutely, I'm sure this has happened. I did not dive into research to like figure out what what single dads have been, screwed by their baby mamas, but I figure there's plenty around, and I thought I've seen this, so let's go for this.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things that was so relatable to it is if you've ever been in a situation. So all four of my kids are adopted. And so like I've went through the process of adopting my kids and I've had seen friends go through that process. I've also seen situations, right, where like a birth parent comes back into the picture and it creates a lot of turmoil, right? And I think
Yep.
one of the things I liked about this is it wasn't just that like her birth mother was like back in the picture and her presence was causing drama. It's like he felt like his entire family was being threatened. And that
Yeah.
causes you to react very differently
Yep.
than someone just being annoying, right?
Yes.
And a pain in the
Yes.
ass.
Very differently.
Very
Yes.
differently. And I think like that's what I loved about that is I know that was really hard for them as characters, but
Mm.
I think it also showed like what lengths he's willing to go to protect the ones that he loves, which says a lot about him as a person too.
Yep.
Okay. So, what type of emotional reaction were you hoping that readers had when they read this?
Yeah. um, well, I didn't want them to sob stuff.
Well,
But whoops. Yeah,
whoops.
whoops. I always want my readers to go on an emotional roller coaster. I really do. I think one of the beautiful parts about romance is that you're giving your readers a very safe place to explore and feel a whole lot. For some people, I mean, certainly like monster smut, you're never going to experience sex with monsters. So like, how is she going to do that except dream
Yeah.
about it? But I don't know that I'll ever write monster stuff, but it's the same concept. Like I want people to have like this really safe place to have big emotions. And so that's what I want. I want a reader to have like I want them to feel the highest of highs. I want them to feel that thrill of, oh my God, does he like me? you know, and oh, he really was looking at me like he wanted to like, do all kinds of dirty things to me. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
To, oh my God, I can't believe he's acting like this. He's breaking my heart, to, oh, he really does love me and we're gonna live happily ever after. And it's this I, I want readers to have all of that, like run the gauntlet of emotions. However a reader comes to the story and whatever they take away from it is totally fine with me, but as long as long as they end with a feeling of everything's going to be okay no matter
Yeah.
what, everything is going to be okay. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, I think that's like kind of the contract, right? When you read like a contemporary romance, like you're like, okay, I
Yes,
might get emotionally destroyed at some point. They're probably going to break up or have some sort of drama, but in the end, they're going to be happy. And so
exactly,
I go into the book
exactly,
wanting that. But yes, I did sob.
exactly.
It did hit me out of nowhere. What's funny because like I read when I got the advanced copy of your book, I read probably half of it the first night,
Oh,
and then I finished it the next night. And so the first part of it was like, okay, like I was laughing. I was like, this is great. And then like the next night I'm in bed reading it. And then I think it was like when she started like everything like with her mom was like coming into
mm,
play. And I have a lot of things tied to that as well. And I was
sure.
just like, it just all the things. And then I was
You're
like,
like,
I'm sobbing, right? And then I'm just
yeah,
like, what is happening? I was not expecting
yeah,
it.
yeah,
So
yes.
lots of
Yeah.
things.
Well,
Okay.
well, hopefully, though, it felt like it wrung you out a little bit and
It
it
did.
like helped, even if it's just a little millimeter of your heart, maybe something healed in there.
Yes. Well, and I think you mentioned Rebecca Yarros at the beginning. One of the things I love about her contemporary romance books is I think she is great at like
Oh,
emotionally destroying you, but then like putting you back
destroying you.
together in most of her
Yes.
books. There are a
Yeah.
few where I don't feel like she does that. So like warning to
Facts.
others. Yeah.
Yep.
But like I'm just like I know I'm going to be emotionally destroyed when I read one of her books. I'm going to cry at some point, so I have to be in the
Yep.
right headspace. Um
Yep.
Yours kind of hit me out of nowhere. I was not expecting to cry. Okay.
Sorry,
It's all right.
but not sorry.
But also not sorry and thank you.
Yeah. Yes, and
I
you're welcome. Yeah.
I like to be emotionally damaged. I like to be emotionally damaged at some point. Okay.
Yes.
So we also see you jump back and forth between POVs, right?
Yes.
And they're not you don't go like chapter for chapter. It's kind of a little bit
Right.
different, right? Because
Yep.
I do feel like one of the really common things now is kind of like the alternating, and I like it. I like that, but I also really like it when you don't know whose perspective you're going to get next, and it's really
Yeah.
based on like what's happening. So,
Yes.
how do you decide that?
The characters tell me. I know it sounds a little woo-woo, but they really do. Like I know what needs to happen next. I don't with this book I did not plot it out chapter for chapter. I knew what I knew what each person's goal was, and I knew
Okay.
what each person's like misbelief was. And by
Yep.
that I mean like the thing that they personally believe that is actually totally wrong. And once they get past that, that's when they're healed and a happily ever after ensues, right? But after that, you just, I mean, my job as a writer is to set that up and then just sort of hit that first domino and watch the dominoes fall and just type furiously as I'm following them to sort of see what's going to happen next. And if it slows down a little bit, then I'll throw like I'll lob, another rock into there and try and figure out, what happens after that. Um, but I've always like completely resisted this idea that it has to be, his, her POV. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me personally. So it's whatever is happening. Like there's one part in here where it literally, and my editor was like, you have like Elodie maybe like four chapters in a
Yep.
row, and then like there's like and then where did Ansel go? And so I was like, fine. I gave him a one word chapter.
Yep. I remember that. I was just like,
He's like, no, that's it. Like that's all we need. Like we see exactly what he is feeling, and
it
we get
it
all of
just
it in
needed
that
one
one
word.
word.
You
It just
did.
needed one word. He really didn't need more than that. But it truly is just whatever the characters are doing and whatever the plot needs. I mean, it in my head as I'm doing it, it's very natural. It's like, oh, it has to be, her point of view in this. Oh, it has to be his, and it's got to be his again, and it's got to be his a third time. So, yeah, they tell me.
Okay. Well, we love spicy scenes. So,
Yeah.
how do you determine when and how much you're going to include in your books?
So that one's weird, because there is a little bit of you do kind of step back and look at it, and the way that if you were to see like my writing software, I use something called Scrivener, and it lets
Mhm.
you sort of label, like you can see the chapters over on the left hand side as you're looking at the text of a chapter all on the right hand side. And I started labeling my chapters where it would just be like, Elodie sex or Elodie makeout. And then you're like looking at it and comparing, you're looking at the ratio of like, okay,
Yeah.
is there enough going on here? And it starts as a really slow burn in the grand scheme of things. But once they make that leap, like all bets are off. Like we're
Yep.
doing all the things every time there's a kid, it's like in the hallway, in the kitchen, in the bedroom, like on the
Yep.
couch, like whatever, as long as they
Outside.
don't get outside, we're like, and it was made so much more fun by the fact that half the time, like or not even half, like 75% of the time there's a little kid somewhere
Yep.
around that they've got to be hyper aware of. And as a parent, I'm like, I know exactly how this works. My
It's
editor
very
who has,
relatable.
yes, my editor who has I think a 3-year-old, she was like, what about the kid? Like, what about Rosalie? And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what
Like,
about your son? Like, you know how this works.
right?
She was like, don't they need to be quiet? I was like, girl, please. Those kids are oblivious. They're not
Right?
paying attention. They're watching their Disney movie or they're doing whatever. But um again, sort of like part of it is I know that the sex scenes need to move the plot along, but I also I need that they have to grow through the sex too. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of times I'll one scene will be like, no, this is just going to be like they are just fucking, and then another scene it's like, no, they are making sweet love. and, staring into each other's eyes and really connecting. And that's exactly what needs to happen. So some of the time the plot sort of tells you exactly when the spice needs to happen. And I love spice. And, I don't mind a closed door romance at all. They can be done so well,
Yep.
but I love showing that emotional growth through sex.
Yep.
And I don't shy away from it. Like I
Uh,
can write a damn good sex scene. I know I can. It takes me forever, but I know I can write a really good one. So I'm like, let's just give the readers what they want.
and that's what I want to read. So thank you.
Perfect.
Okay. So what is your favorite line or passage from the book and why?
So, that one was hard. I'm really glad that you gave me the questions beforehand. So I have sort of two, and they're both from Ansel's point of view. The first one is when they're in the pool, they're playing Marco Polo with his daughter, and it just sort of hits him that he's like, oh God, like I have completely. Every rule that I set for myself, I've completely violated. And he thinks to himself, I'm breathless in the face of her. And I just, oh, it's
Yep.
just so good. And I'm like, yes, Ansel, yes, you are. And then later, he's still fighting, right? Like even though
Yeah.
he's like, nope, 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 can't do it. All the rules. There's so many reasons why, even though the rules are stupid, but he doesn't know that yet. And he finally thinks to himself, it's okay if I fall, because if I do fall, she's going to catch me.
Catch me.
And those are my favorites in that book for sure.
Okay. So I know you are going to be enjoying the release of this book, but what
Yes.
is next? I know you've teased it. You've teased us a
Yeah.
little bit at the end,
Yeah.
and it's not who I thought it would be.
I know. And I've had a couple people on Threads even be like, it's gonna be these two, right? And I'm like, not yet.
Yeah. And I'm like,
So
damn it.
I know. So I currently have this will be a 3-book series so far. There is another character in there, and he keeps, like, every time he came on the page, I was like, oh dude, you are really taking up a lot of like my creative, like you're sucking me dry here. And I have a feeling I'm gonna have to write book 4 for you, but I don't know yet. So I won't commit to anything. We'll see. But the next one is going to be the Australian. Um, so you're gonna get coach and player's sister. Is what's going to happen. So and she'll actually be working for the team. So you're going to get a little bit of workplace romance, forbidden romance. There won't be a very big age gap. But yeah, still all the wonderful things that people want to see in a book.
Will it pick up at the end of this book? Or will we get to
Yes.
see what happened before the end of this book?
So it will pick up where this book ends. I mean, it's going to pick up pretty much almost right there. But readers who get to the end of book 1, if they want to see a bonus scene that is what happens,
Okay.
then they're going to be able to click a linky link and get that bonus scene. And that's quite literally, you need it.
I need it. Well, I mean, you can't leave that book with a teaser of certain things that are said
Yep.
about the coach without me being like, well, we're going to get that scene, right?
Right. Like, where is that scene? Yes. And this is the first time that I've ever ended a book deliberately. Like, it's not a cliffhanger. I wouldn't call it a cliffhanger, but it is a clear indication of what's coming next. And I've never done that before. And I've already, like, the reactions are already like, I cannot believe you just said that to me. And it makes me giddy. And it's like that evil laugh where you're like, haha, my plan is working.
Well, it worked because I was like, well, I'm going to
Good.
need this book and I'm going to need
Yes.
that scene. And
Yep.
I'm going to need another book about these other characters that I thought we were getting next.
Yep. You got to see those two characters like get a little even, like there's a little more angst that we're going to build those two so that when so we'll see, you'll get more of that couple, to be seen couple in book 2, so that by the time they finally land in book 3, like you'll be salivating for them. That's my goal.
Okay, well, I already am. So thank you.
Perfect.
Your master
Good.
plan has worked.
It's already working. Yes, exactly. And that also, I mean, truly that goes back to why it took me, why it feels like it took so long to write this book, is I had to make sure that I was really layering all this other stuff in. Like I had to
Yeah.
set all these different puzzle pieces in motion so that it all really works together. And this was the first time that I had put so much thought into it. Like despite the fact that I've done two other series, two other 3 and 4 book series, this is the first one where I'm really working hard to make it to where like I want to grab the reader by the throat and be like, you are not leaving this town. Like you are staying with me all the way through.
Thanks for listening to Late Night Reads. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Late Night Reads Podcast. And check out latenightreads.com for even more information about all the books we're reading. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And share the show with your fellow book lovers.